Hello and welcome to Health in the Real World. I'm Chris Janke and I'm joined today with Gagan Singh. And Gagan is the record holder for the most pull-ups in a 12-hour period. That record stands at 3,101. That's right, 3,101 pull-ups in a 12-hour period. What's even more fascinating is when he started, he could only do 5 in a row when he started training for this. We're also going to get Gagan back in a few months because he's working on another record. He wants to see how many pull-ups he can do in a 48-hour period. That's right, 2 days. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Gagan Singh to Health in the Real World.
It's the Health in the Real World podcast. It's time to start the show with Chris Janke as your host. Here to give you everything that you need when it comes to fitness strategies. We keep it simple and easy. It's your roadmap to get healthy. You don't need equipment and you don't need a gym. Just the right strategies to get you fit and trim.
The Health in the Real World podcast is sponsored by most exercises and workouts, whether they be running, biking, elliptical, rowing machine, traditional weightlifting, or even CrossFit, do not give you a balanced workout. And when you do workouts that neglect even one area, you're out of balance, resulting in pain and injury as well. Achieve your goals with the fitness program your chiropractor would love. Visit chrisjanke.com/pod to watch the free video.
You have an awesome story. So you broke a record for most pull-ups. First of all, thanks for joining me today, and tell us a little bit about that. I have so many questions about this. This is awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me here. And so basically, I made this record of most pull-ups in 12 hours, wherein I did 3,101 pull-ups. And actually, I became the first Indian ever in history to achieve this feat. So basically, I got this inspiration to make this record from reading a book, which was in 2020. I was reading "Can't Hurt Me" by David Goggins. I'm sure you might have heard about it.
Yep.
I came to know about this person that David Goggins was. He is an ultra marathon runner, ultra distance cyclist, and he has done all these great things. He was also a Navy SEAL, and I was reading his story. So basically, I checked his background. That I thought that this person was not the same kind of person from the very beginning. Like, he was a very insecure, fat person, and then he completely transformed himself. And actually, I read in his book that he also has made this most pull-ups in 24 hours record. And from that, from that moment on, I wrote in my list of goals that someday I'll also make this record of if not 24 hours, then at least for 12 hours.
Wow. So 3,101 pull-ups in 12 hours.
Yeah.
Wow. And David Goggins is awesome. I've never read his book, but I have seen a lot of his YouTube videos. So did you do any special training to do this? Like, what did that look like? Were you already kind of fit to begin with, and then you just took it to the next level, or did you start from scratch?
No, I think that's the most amazing part of it. Like, I was, like, from my very childhood, I was considered a very weak person, and for that very reasons, I was kind of bullied by a lot of the other my teammates and all those stuffs. So I was not very considered to be a very kind of a sports person, and I was not, like, people used to tell me that you cannot do anything great in sports and you cannot achieve anything in physical activity. So I was having that kind of background, but I thought that if, like, I read this David Goggins story and I thought if he can do it, like, everybody else can do it as well. So that was the actually beginning of that kind of mindset, and then started to read. I actually got into the self-help and self-improvement a lot of stuff. I started to read a lot of books, and that was the beginning of that foundation of that mindset, which I formed, that I can do that. And to begin with, I was not strong at the pull-ups. Like, I did not had any specific training for that. And I think this is what people don't believe in. Like I never went to the gym to train for this. I never even had a trainer. Like, I had just had a pull-up bar in my backyard, and that's where I used to train. So that was like, but that was consistent. Like, I used to train for the record. I trained for like 8 or 10 months consistently every single day. And so that's that. Like, I never had a trainer, never had a gym, never went to the gym, but I just had that mentality and just kept on working.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, it makes sense. You don't necessarily need a trainer. That you wanted to do the pull-up record. So you just had a pull-up bar. There's a principle in training for everybody watching. It's called the SAID principle. And this is really important for whatever goal you want to achieve. So SAID, specific adaptation to imposed demands. So you wanted to get good at pull-ups, you just did pull-ups, right? And you just progressed. So give us a numbers idea. Like, so you did 3,101 pull-ups in 12 hours by the end of the 10 months or so. Where were you on day one? Like, were you doing like 10 pull-ups in a row? Were you at like 20? Like, what was like roughly where you
No.
started? How did you approach your training?
Yeah, in the very beginning, I couldn't even do 5 pull-ups in a row. So that was my beginning. But then I continued to persist. Even sometimes people used to tell me that, you cannot do this because I'm a kind of person tell you to your face that what I'm going to do next. So people sometimes don't like to, don't like to hear that, and they used to tell me to my face like, you couldn't do this because you haven't, you're not a strong person. Like, you look at your physique, you're such a skinny person, and you're not that strong. So it was kind of difficult at first, I would say, but I continue to persist and I continue to train every single day. And I would say it's more about consistency. And to give the specific numbers, I didn't never counted before the until the very last 2 or 3 weeks before I actually attempted the record. So before attempting the record, from the last 2 or 3 weeks, I was doing two pull-ups for 2-3 hours every single day. It was about 500 to 600 pull-ups every single day. So I'll just make the estimate for that.
Man, even that. So okay, so you're in it for like, let's say 9 months, and then you're doing about 500 pull-ups in a day. Even that jump is huge. You went from 500 to 3,101. Was that, how much of a mental battle was that during those 12 hours? What went through mentally, like through your mind at that point?
Yeah, I think that was the thing that was even the attempt was very crucial. Like when I started to attempt that, like in the very first hour, my hand started to rip apart, but I still continued to do that because I was already having calluses on my hand because of overtraining of pull-ups. And what happened was, in the 10th hour, like my wrist snapped. So the very next pull-up that I did, I actually could feel that my wrist would just fall off. So and that was a very crucial moment, because at that moment I had to decide that, if I had to go further or just stop here. Because at that moment your brain starts to telling you the reasons to quit. Like it starts telling you that, it's not worth it. Like, why are you even doing this? Like, there's no point to do this. And I think that is the point where most people quit. Like, that is the point where actually that shift happens. Like, at that moment you have to tell yourself, like, why are you doing this? You have to remind yourself that, that purpose for doing all these things. So at that time I reminded myself, then, that if I can attempt and successfully achieve this, then it could be an inspiration for other people as well. Like, if a person like me, who was so weak and people used to bully him, if he can do it, then anyone else can do it as well. So that was number one thing. And the second thing was to, prove those people wrong who used to tell me that I couldn't do this. So those were the two motivating factors for me at that point, and I continued to go on and just did it in the end.
That's a really good metaphor for life, I think. Anytime somebody sets a goal, especially if it's a really long-term goal, and then at first you might be riding high on the motivation, like January, for example, people are all in the gym, they're motivated from their New Year's resolutions. And then, there's always going to come that point where you're questioning yourself, why am I even doing this? This is painful. It seems, the body's like, this is totally ridiculous. Like, what, you're killing yourself, you're breaking your wrist, you're, doing whatever else. But that's just a great testament as far as like the spirit to control the body. It's like you told your body what to do, not the other way around, which is, I think, is great.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you have to tell yourself, like, this is where, like, it's also called like the 40% rule. Like, whenever you think that you are, that's the limiting point, like you can't go further, that's just like 40% of what you have actually, what you could actually do.
Oh, wow.
So there are sometimes like limiting beliefs that we put on ourselves. Like it's everyday thing. Like, it's called mind over matter. Like, whatever you put your mind to do it, like it could happen. Like, whenever, like, let's say you have a pain in your leg or in your foot, and then you take a painkiller. Now, taking that painkiller does not actually mean that that pain goes away.
Right.
Like, it means that only the signals that were coming from your foot to your brain, only those signals go away, right? So like, if a bloody outside chemical can control your body, then you can also control your body with your mind. So like, but this is the principle which most people don't apply in reality. Like it's easy to say it in theory, but actually it's very difficult to apply.
Yeah. So is that something you mentioned that, your, what you went through, what you accomplished could be sort of an example for other people. Have you developed anything around that? Like, do you have sort of like a training program, or do you have any tips for people as far as like, because like you said, it's easier said than done. So do you have a training program to help people sort of get from that 40% where they think they're tapped out and really hitting their potential?
Currently I don't have any training program, but definitely I'm planning to have some programs and some, I'm also looking forward to become a mental toughness coach as well. So that's my future plan for that.
Nice. And you mentioned too, like becoming a speaker, and I mean, I definitely think you have a great story. This is like an awesome feat. Just those numbers alone are ridiculous. Like, wow, from barely being able to do 5 pull-ups to 3,101 in 12 hours. So I want to give you a chance now to go to give your motivational talk. So I give this question to everybody at the end of the show. Basically, let's say you're a motivational speaker, and like maybe a university has hired you, or maybe like a corporation, and you're going to give this motivational talk to them. What motivational talk, like 1 to 2 minute motivational talk on how to get the most out of life, how to get the most out of your body, and
I'm sorry, Chris, can you please repeat that?
Yeah.
Actually, I lost the connection.
Oh shoot. Okay. Okay, I'll edit that out. Okay, so I really like this question, and for you, I think it's very pertinent. My last question on the podcast is always, let's say we put you in front of a university for maybe their graduation ceremony, and you're the motivational speaker, and your goal is to give them like a 1 to 2 minute motivational speech on how they can get the most out of their life. So what's your motivational speech to those students?
Like I would not be able to reconcile that right now, but I would say like it all depends on your mindset and your belief. Like if you believe that you can do that, and if you actually put in the work to do that, like I think these are the two main ingredients behind what like I have accomplished. Like first of all is belief. You have to believe what you are doing. That's the starting point. Like if sometimes most people actually talk themselves out of a daunting task because they think they cannot do it before even starting to do it. So most people quit before even they start. So I think they should first of all believe in it, and then they should actually put in the grind, put in the work, put in those hours to actually make it happen. I think those are the key ingredients, and that's what I've done.
I love it. Yeah, 2 steps. First, believe that what you want to accomplish is actually possible, and then you do have to actually do the work, right? You can't just like wish for it. You have to actually do the work. You did pull-ups, you said, for hours and hours each day for 10 months, and you did the work, and even then it was still hard. So that's awesome. So again, this is Gagan. I'm pronouncing that right? Gagan?
Yeah.
Gagan Singh. Gagan, thank you so much for joining us today. Is there a way, like if people are interested in learning more about you, social media, or do you have a website or anything? How do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, I have an Instagram ID. You can contact me on like my Instagram ID is Mr. Purpose 24.
Okay, awesome.
And my website, I'm also working on a startup, which is myvatika.com, myvatika.com.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much. Again, very inspirational. Any goal that you guys have, just break it, first believe, and then break it down into its parts, do the work. Again, this is Gagan Singh. Thank you so much for joining me today. Really appreciate it for joining me.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Health in the Real World show. Make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below. Visit mycorebalance.com to learn more.